Hello and welcome, trainers. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And today we're starting this new podcast just to get the channel kind of rolling again. Because why not? And we might as well get started on all... How many Pokemon? I don't know. Maybe 251. Because after that, I kind of lose track. Or maybe like 254. I don't know. As many as I can stomach. I'm joking. And Dan can list off all at once in a rap.
That would be...
Oh, come on. The one guy in the one poker rap did it. Sure, there was a gun to his son's temple, but he was able to do it. How come you can't, Dan? Oh, right. You don't have a son yet for me to point a gun at. To make you do it. Okay. All right. So, let's get started on Pokemon number uno. One.
Rhydon?
Sure, why not?
He was the first created Pokemon.
Yeah.
But,
in universe, it was... The first Pokemon in existence was Mew. Because he's basically the god of Pokemon.
But,
Let's talk Bulbasaur. And Bulbasaur, who keeps repeating that term, is really annoying for saying nothing but Bulbasaur. I'm joking. He's apparently some sort of small frog Pokemon with blue-green skin. He's got some dark patches, red eyes, and you all know what he's like. Actually, most depictions of this Pokemon seem to be very stubborn, both in anime and manga. In particular, Red is famous for having a Bulbasaur called Soar, who I always get the impression is fairly sore from all the traveling. Hasn't told me otherwise. Actually, it's really funny how it's Bulbasaur, who's known for being good around baby Pokemon with his Bulba Lullaby, and is apparently often found in grasslands and forests throughout Kanto. However, due to his being a starter Pokemon, doesn't usually appear in certain Pokemon games because, well, starter. But when evolving, the bulb on his back will start glowing, and then we'll crack open it so that he becomes Ivysaur. The major appearances in anime are in the original anime series with Ash, with Bulbasaur debuting in the Bulbasaur in the Hidden Village as a Pokemon from a hidden village. He ends up becoming besties with Ash and ends up eventually leaving in the Johto story of Bulbasaur the Ambassador when he's sent back to Oak's lab because Ash got tired of him. And I'm joking there, but come on. The creators got tired of him. May in the Hoenn region catches her own Bulbasaur in Grass Asteria.
No one really pays attention to May.
Or to her Bulbasaur. Hey, actually, she has her fan base, apparently.
I know.
I'm just not familiar with May as a character. I prefer... I prefer because you've told me about the manga character of...
Sapphire.
Yeah, you like Sapphire as a character. And you have May, who ends up pretty much ditching Bulbasaur so that Oak could basically train it alongside Bulbasaur into a Venusaur. Talk about not actually, taking your own, doing your own dirty work. I actually don't like that she got a Venusaur just given to her. Because that, come on. Have her work for it. And there's Shauna's Bulbasaur, which no one cares about. Of course, Bulbasaur plays a role in Mewtwo Strikes Back where he's cloned, and both appear in Mewtwo Returns. As to Pokemon I Choose You, Ash dreams about taking one as one of his Pokemon, and that's almost it. In Pokemon Origins, File 1 Red, a Bulbasaur is seen in the intro, but in this case, Red doesn't choose Bulbasaur. He chooses Charmander. And it's really in the manga where Bulbasaur gets a chance to shine. Bulbasaur is kind of overlooked in the Pokemon franchise. He's a good character and a good Pokemon. It's actually a solid grass type and has the advantage that Chikorita doesn't of also being a poison type. Now, against psychic Pokemon, this is a huge disadvantage. Same with against earth types. But on the other hand, Bulbasaur is a fairly rock-solid, quick enough Pokemon that usually gets the first hit in, and that's usually all that counts and matters.
One fascinating thing about Bulbasaurs in the wild is that a lot of them tend to be more pack-oriented.
Okay.
And there's a reason why. You remember the episode where all the Bulbasaur went to evolve into Ivysaur?
Oh, yeah.
That is something that also happens in Pokemon Journeys in one of the first episodes of that series.
Okay.
Where a lot of Bulbasaurs and Ivysaurs go and try and find a field to get as much sunlight.
And then evolve.
And then evolve. And
in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the day.
Oh, okay. Because in the anime, it was the middle of the night.
Yeah, initially. But the ones in Vermilion City,
okay,
it was during the day.
Maybe it was the Venusaur acting like the sun, and that was kind of why it was in the middle of the night in that episode. But typically, it's during the day. Maybe that's why.
I know
what happens.
Because
but I actually fall in that Ash should have totally kicked Bulbasaur and said, "Just evolve, darn you." And I'm joking there, but actually, he should have pressured Bulbasaur into evolving. This is essentially Bulbasaur choosing to basically stay in Mom's basement rather than growing up. So Bulbasaur chose to basically play Peter Pan and never grow up and have an extended childhood and infancy, which is not healthy. I don't believe that was what was best for Bulbasaur, and that's inherently the problem with Ash as a trainer. He never does what's best for his Pokemon. He does what he wants in the moment, which is not actually good parenting. So, yeah, I'm pretty harsh on this episode. And I guess I'm also harsh towards Bulbasaur because Bulbasaur does... well, I fall in more with Charmander / Charmeleon / Charizard in the anime than Bulbasaur. Because I'm of the mindset that between the two, the thing is, Bulbasaur was in the wrong, and his hatred for evolution is basically his hatred for growing up. And on Ash's end, in a lot of ways, Charizard was also Ash's fault as far as, the dynamics. So, because Charizard had a lot of unresolved insecurities, and Ash was the worst possible trainer in that regard in dealing with Charizard. If Charizard had had a trainer like Misty or Brock, he never would have ended up the way he did. So that's entirely Ash's fault. Ash is to blame, and Bulbasaur kind of justifying everything Ash did not help matters. And the other factor is that Bulbasaur, the thing is, this is also about short-term, immediate gratification. Bulbasaur became all about that by not evolving. By evolving, he'd be growing up. He'd be becoming more mature. And so, yeah. But I know I'm bashing Bulbasaur a little, but it's just... There were other roads that Pokemon could have taken that probably would have been better for the character. That said, the best Bulbasaur in any continuity is Soar. In Bulbasaur Come Home, Red has to... go find all the Pokemon he accidentally set free, and Soar ends up having to help him out. Soar, though, ends up befriending Red, and the two go on a great Pokemon journey. And Soar is quite the powerhouse. He manages to take down Blue's Charizard, which is incredible, as well as Green's Blastoise. But that's when he's a Venusaur. Soar, though, is a powerhouse. Also in personality, very stubborn. Oak could not quite manage to contain this Pokemon. Oak could not control, contain, or reason with Soar. Only Red could.
Which is a little unusual for Bulbasaur, which they're stubborn and forceful creatures, but they're social. And
Soar can get social, but also gets antisocial at times.
he is very stubborn, and if Oak has trouble controlling a starter Pokemon, it's unusual that someone would be able to walk away with him.
Yeah.
But he bonded with
Red. And that's really what's quite amazing there. Because, like, Oak truly is good at managing these Pokemon, and yet he can't manage Soar. But as for Bulbasaur as a Pokemon, they are obviously really, really powerful grass poison types and are a great choice for a starter. I think, though, that in some ways, the thing about Pokemon Red and Blue, or Fire Red and Leaf Green, or whatever, is that there really should have been a Water Blue as well. But anyways, and maybe an Electric Yellow. But I think that the first generation games, you kind of have easy mode, which is with Squirtle and Charmander, and slightly harder mode with Bulbasaur, because you don't have the game spoon feeding you when you choose Bulbasaur. Now, on my first playthrough, I chose Charmander because our oldest brother chose Charmander. I was basically aping him a little and went my own way and didn't do as good. Then the next quest, I think I chose Bulbasaur. Then I chose Squirtle. Then I went back to Charmander, did even better, and actually did it right. Then went to Squirtle, and then I've played with all three since, and I really enjoy it.
my first playthrough was Bulbasaur, and he was the only one that I trained. I actually beat the game with just Venusaur.
That's pretty impressive. He was probably like level 100 or something.
I think closer to level 70, 79, something like that.
Impressive.
But then again, it was only at, I think it was, the next Pokemon to evolve, I think, was Pidgeot. And he was only level 30 when I went to the Pokemon League.
Oh, gosh. Actually, you did better than I did, probably. I had a bunch of Pokemon in the 40s and 50s, but nothing all that impressive. But on my Bulbasaur quest, my first Bulbasaur quest, I think that was the first time I actually got a Pokemon to level, 71. And it was like, wow, this is great. Then in Pokemon Yellow, I got Bulbasaur only up to 54 or something. Fully evolved, of course. But I'm going to be honest. I really wish that you could catch Bulbasaur, I think, in Gold and Silver. I really think that they should have made him a catchable Pokemon. In some recent versions, you can catch Bulbasaur, but much as I like Charmander and Squirtle, I in particular would like Bulbasaur to be catchable, because I feel that he doesn't get the same respect in the fan base to an extent, because everybody goes on about Squirtle and Charmander and how they're powerhouses, which they are. I'm not faulting anyone. I just think maybe Bulbasaur should be made more available to people in order to, kind of spread the love a little. What's funny is that when it comes to playing through Pokemon, which I don't really do anymore, it's been years. Heck, maybe we should start a joint quest on the channel again. This time we'd have better audio and whatnot because, and people get to see our facial reactions and whatnot because we actually have better equipment and whatnot. Just saying. I think that with Bulbasaur, the funny thing is that by the time of I get to Pewter City, usually I've evolved him. I make sure to try to evolve my starter by the time I get to Brock. At this point,
That's a fair approach. I mean, sure, I don't go that far. I try to match the most powerful Pokemon of the gym.
yeah, I tend to go a little crazy and just go. He has to be 10 levels higher, and like you've gone for my training regiment on Pokemon.
Yeah, at least
I'm totally blue.
At least it's not like our older brother the first time he played Pokemon.
Oh gosh,
He got lost in Mount Moon.
not something that's hard to do. Like on your first playthrough, it's very easy to get lost in Mount Moon. I've gotten lost.
He
times.
walked out of Mount Moon into Cerulean City with a Charizard.
That I actually find impressive. I don't know how he did that. That's actually kind of funny. I've only ever been able to walk out of Mount Moon with a Charizard or a Blastoise or a Venusaur when I've actually done it on purpose and I've gone insane with training. But I actually don't really want to. I don't really do that per se because I train them only up to level 30 typically when stepping out of Mount Moon, and that's only because I give all the trainer battles to the main starter. So yeah, for Bulbasaur, good Pokemon.
He's good, solid, and apparently he's now used far more than Charizard and Blastoise in tournaments.
Really, I didn't know that.
Because I know that he's a good stall Pokemon. For example, Leech Seed, Toxic, and some more defensive techniques to just stall the opponent out.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. What now as for Bulbasaur, what's funny is that in our old kind of Pokemon D&D campaign, I think I ended up with the Bulbasaur.
Yes, you did.
And it was a Bulbasaur who had been abandoned and was stubborn and whatnot. And yeah, I really liked that Bulbasaur. He had a temper though.
Yes. And he kept using his vine whips to steal food.
Yeah. I really liked that one. Like, I guess I just have a soft spot for Bulbasaur. I have a soft spot for quite a few Pokemon from the first two generations. But maybe we should actually try rating the Pokemon on, like, maybe likability, usefulness, and whatnot. And just Bulbasaur alone, not Ivysaur, Venusaur, and whatnot. Like, just Bulbasaur. So, for Bulbasaur, I'd say it's best to probably judge him just for, like, the start of a game, because while I have done quests where I've not evolved Bulbasaur, I think you don't get as much bang for your buck, to an extent, unless you evolve your Pokemon. So, now I've seen quests where people just do a challenge and try not to evolve, which is fine. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying, in a standard quest, you would evolve your Bulbasaur. So for evolving Bulbasaur, that means it's no longer Bulbasaur. So, like, now, Sora as a character, I think, is like a great character, but let's just judge Bulbasaur based on Bulbasaur. And, like, as a starter Pokemon, and for the first 15 levels.
First 15 levels.
Because, or like 10 levels or whatever.
And yes, he's the most balanced between Squirtle and Charmander. Because Charmander can deal more of a punch.
Mm-hmm.
But Bulbasaur
has the best defense.
Has the best defense. So,
and there is Leech Seed, and Bulbasaur is probably the best at helping you catch Pokemon.
In my opinion, such a non-evolution run, of the three starters, I think he'd be the best choice.
Yeah, I guess.
Charmander wouldn't have the physical bulk.
I guess.
And
Squirtle, well, I think Squirtle might be the best.
That's fair.
Just because of moveset. That said, Bulbasaur's up there. So, but the thing with Charmander is that he's probably got one of the He might even have the best evolution to Charizard. So let's rate Bulbasaur as a Pokemon, starting out.
And this is to consider the early game.
And also, like, in terms of typical personality for these creatures in anime and manga. So, like, it's everything.
I would say a good solid...
Now, this is going to be from 0 to 4, 0 being, like, beyond the pale, worthless and hateable, to 4, which is perfection and whatnot.
a good solid 2.5.
Darn, I was going to do that. Okay, I want to be different, but this is hard. This is hard. You stole my rating from me. You thief! You thief! I'm going to say 2.3 just to be a little different. I'm going to rate him a little higher. Nah, you know what? 2.1. I'll rate him a little lower. No, I can't. 2.3 it is. Darn it. You took my rating from me. Anyways. Next up is going to be Ivysaur. So, stay tuned. And don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were, Bulbasaur slapping down the competition with Vine Whip.